Hello and welcome to Stories with Shivansh. Today I have with me a very delightful and cheerful guest that I'm very excited to talk to. Ma Anand Sheela ji, welcome to the show.
Thank you for welcoming me
How are you doing? Back to India.
back to India.
Does it
That's
feel
how
good?
love affairs function. You run away and come back again.
I think I am yet to run away, but hopefully very soon. Anand Sheela ji, I just want one thing to know from you. You coming back to India, how does it feel now that you don't live here?
It feels very heartwarming to begin with. And I see the issues objectively and clearly because I'm not involved.
Fair enough.
So when I see the buildings are not maintained well, I see that. Or I see everywhere or the lot of places trash being piled up. I see it because I have a comparison where I live now and here.
Okay. And more importantly, we all know that you've had a monumental life, right? You've done some incredible things. And I just want to know, at the peak, I'm sure it was great. But once you moved out of Rajneeshpuram, if I'm not mistaken, and then everything that happened, did you ever feel at any point in your life कि maybe it would have been better if you never met Bhagwan Rajneesh?
No. No. I wish every one of you could meet Bhagwan. To meet a man like him and to live life and work with him, this opportunity comes one in millions. And I had that opportunity. And I would love to share with all of you young people, because what I have learned from him is a dream of my father for us children, that we all learn from such wonderful people.
So, again, going back to the same thing, we classify men like Bhagwan Rajneesh as a spiritual guru, right? So, in your opinion, what would you call him? Was he God, a spiritual guru, or what would he be to you?
I classify him as a lover of mine. And nothing less than that, because there is nothing less. He was my universe and remains to be my universe even today.
That's such an interesting take because I've watched a lot of your interviews and you didn't have a conventional boyfriend girlfriend relationship. I'm sorry I'm using that term, but our understanding of love is very simple. You give love, you take love, you build a family together, you live together. And you had a completely different idea of love. Could you please speak about it? Like, how did you? It seems
The
to be one
love
sided.
I felt for him brought out my potential, my creativity. And that justifies the love that we felt.
Fair enough. I agree.
Yeah. it gave me an opportunity to learn things I would have never learned before. And I don't categorize as spiritual or non-spiritual, because that potential we all have, just like him. But we engage ourselves in trivia and not go for the profound. And he spent his time with the profound.
Fair enough. Just being on the same conversation, I find it very interesting to think what all you built in the US, right? Because for, let's say, building a township, you require a fair amount of experience as to how to do it, and there are too many logistics involved in it. But here you were, as young as one could be, and you were taking charge and taking lead on multiple incredibly mega structures that were being created, a community that was being built, people coming in. And to me, all of it just seems too much for a person to handle at any age. What drove you to doing it?
When Bhagwan is behind my back, I don't think of all that. I simply go forward. He guides me, and I put it in a practical use. So whatever you saw was not just subjective, it was objective. And it was a synthesis of subjective and objective.
That's a lovely way to put it.
We are used to only see subjective or objective. But together, no. And Bhagwan taught me that look at life as a whole, where life is there and death is there.
And just now that you speak about it, would it be right to say that a lot of the confidence that you have also comes from Bhagwan Rajneesh?
Absolutely. No doubt. No doubt.
So, would it be right to say that some of the things that you've said in the interviews that we youngsters, all of us, make memes about, have you seen any of it?
Not actually. For me, it is already gone, happened. But I hear from people like you often, young people come and tell me it was cool, it was badass,
Yeah.
and, yeah. And sometimes I think about going back in it, and then I say, yeah, but they push me into it. The journalist of 80s, were being journalists, they have to be open-minded.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they were conservative. And they were working for conservative media. So they wanted to push somewhere. And Bhagwan had given me free range. He said, you be outrageous with these people. They don't deserve logic.
And outrageous and confident you were.
Right. When Bhagwan says so, he was my boss. I got to follow him.
Okay. So all that I have to do is to say that you have given me the permission as my boss to say whatever I want to say.
Well, but consequences you have to take also. Whatever you say and consequences come, you have to be responsible.
Okay, so it boils down to the same thing. I have to be responsible with what I say.
Right.
And again, now that you talk about love, right? Of being in love with him. This, at least in my understanding, I have read a fair bit about Bhagwan Rajneesh, Osho, and also about you. And you've spoken about this love throughout. It seems to be pure to me in a way. Like with us being in love, we have too many subjective variables involved. We want this, we want that in the relationship. This is how we want to be. With you, it was a simple feeling of love,
Right.
right? So when you walk away from it, and then how do you not walk back to the person? How do we strong enough to not go back in the same circle?
It was very simple. I had my own integrity. This integrity, I carried it from my parents and throughout my time with Bhagwan. I was not about to sell that integrity for desire to live with Bhagwan forever. That was not the issue. Issue was I was given a task to protect Bhagwan. And when I could not protect him, for the man in love, I was able to manage and take responsibility for his dream and build this dream with other people who loved him and who were his followers. How with fun and ease I had done it. Now, same love came to my rescue and said, you cannot sell your integrity. You gotta walk away. You can't fulfill your job. Then it's only correct that I walk away from the job. And that's what I did. And not a moment I regret it. Not a moment I feel that my decision was wrong. Okay. In fact, now, after 30, 40 years, I feel it was the right decision for my own growth also.
Fair enough. On a personal growth point of view, and also from the point of view of being objective about the situation, I agree. But again, I think when you were there with him, you were speaking to him almost every day. Right? Which in a way was already a massive thing.
Right.
And then to go to never seeing him again, emotionally, how do you tackle it?
Of course, it makes you sad because he was such a beautiful person. The beauty of his body, you cannot easily forget. And beauty of his intelligence was overpowering. I haven't yet found a person who has the same intelligence.
That's
nothing to put you down by that.
I mean, I already feel it.
No, but you have potential. You're still young.
And you're
a good-looking young man too.
If anyone listening wants to connect, As my Anand Sheela ji is saying, feel free.
So, do you understand what I mean?
Absolutely.
So you do feel sad, but what feels even sadder to me now, that Bhagwan's follower
Hmm.
don't have that unity
Hmm. Ah.
that was there when we were there in 70s and 80s.
I think that was a different time altogether.
And that Bhagwan's energy
Hmm.
is not there. That makes me sad, that how easily people can bring his hard work of his life
Hmm.
and dedication,
Hmm.
we can bring it to zero. So, not seeing Bhagwan doesn't make me sad,
Hmm.
but his followers who are split, they all want to become gurus,
Hmm.
but they have no sense.
Okay. And again, coming back to the same thing, who runs the foundation and the ashrams now?
I have no idea,
Okay.
and it doesn't bother me.
Acha. Don't you think someone like you would be better to sort of guide everyone?
No, I wouldn't want anyone calling me unintelligent. You know, that my ego cannot accept.
Fair enough. Again, I just want to
No,
clarify.
I would not want to deal with it.
No?
To answer, no.
Why would that be? Just
I dealt with these people near Bhagwan, and Bhagwan dies, and somebody is looting him, somebody is stealing his copyright, somebody is stealing his ashram and selling it, somebody is becoming a guru and behaving like it's nonsense, utter nonsense. Be yourself. Bhagwan taught us to be ourselves.
So, in your opinion, you would just not want to go back.
No.
Fair enough, fair enough. So, that leads me to my next question. What are you doing these days?
What am I doing these days? Getting old?
Okay. All of us are.
Yeah, it's a natural process. Going through that process, and up till today, I have been working with handicapped people,
Okay.
mentally, psychologically, and physically handicapped. Not through studies,
Okay.
but through experience. I am known for working very well with schizophrenia, borderline, dementia, and Alkoholstabilisierung,
Okay.
but I refuse to work with drug abuse.
Why is that?
I have a sore point on it. That was the conflict I had with Bhagwan.
Okay. Was he consumed?
He started experimenting with drugs, and he was in bad company with these druggies.
So,
And he was not ready to move away from them.
okay.
But besides that, also, I have never done drugs in my life. I wouldn't,
So,
but I haven't drunk either alcohol that way.
so that's simply unfair.
Yeah, but still I can stabilize alcoholics and dementia through alcohol. I stabilize very good.
So, where is it set up? Where are you?
It is in Switzerland. I have 2 homes in Switzerland and 1 home in Mauritius.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. So, again, when you left, did you plan this?
No.
How did you come about it?
As earlier I said to you that existence takes care of me well. And somehow, when I was out of prison and I wanted to be back on my feet, that's when I realized also my parents were old, and somehow that's what got me involved. And there was a law in Switzerland that allowed me to set up something.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting. And why did you choose to go to Switzerland and not somewhere
I
else?
was Swiss citizen.
Oh, acha. Fair enough. So you just went back to
Right.
where you were living. Okay, makes sense. That way it makes a lot of sense to me, because I always thought, ki, why would you go back to Switzerland? What was the connection behind it? I had no idea. And just
Last 33 years after prison, I have been living in Switzerland, and there I created these 2 homes and the concept of the home. And it's a simple concept, but it works. The simplicity of the concept is being there. I am there for you, and you are there for me. And I will make every effort to walk to you, and I request you to make every effort to walk to me.
Fair enough. And I also had one more question about prison. But before I get to that, I just want to clarify to the people watching this and also to you. I'm not a journalist. I am not in favor of you or against you. I'm just a generally curious person who was interested to know more about you and your life. So I'm not here to make any judgments, and neither am I a journalist to get something out of you. So I just want to ask, not if you've done it or what happened, why you were there. Just how does it affect you and your family when you are in prison? What effects does it have on you?
When I was in prison, my parents and my siblings suffered more.
Why would that be?
Every parent wants their children to live life at optimal.
Yeah.
Prisons are not considered optimal. So I felt their pain. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to be back on my feet quickly, because they were old. When I came out of prison, I was 40 years old. And I didn't want them to die feeling that one of their child did not make it through the life.
So,
but I wanted to make it at the same pace and speed that I have lived earlier with Bhagwan.
which was too quick.
Yeah.
You were too fast, even for this generation.
Right. And I managed it, without help from anybody.
That's interesting.
Right. And that's where it shows also the ability to function in crisis. That is my talent, I would call it. Where crisis, I can think fast and move fast.
Okay. And now you have grown older.
But
Don't
still,
Yeah.
in crisis, I'm
But
20 years younger.
But don't you want to retire and just relax?
That is what many of my team would wish, because they have seen me work hard.
Yeah.
And they would wish that I retire and enjoy life a bit.
Yeah.
But for me, my work is my pleasure.
That's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah. And every one of my team would say, that's how I feel. Work is my pleasure. But who knows? Maybe in another situation comes up. What life will offer me, I don't know. And as life comes clearer, I will move accordingly.
So do you plan your life in advance, or do you just move one day at a time?
More spontaneous. And of course, with this spontaneity, because you live in the West, and Western world is very structured.
Yeah.
So that structure requires certain structure, planning. Then you plan what you can't get away with. Okay. And what you get away with, you make it spontaneous.
That's a good way to do it. Now, coming back to another thing that at least my generation truly suffers with, I've met a lot of people, so not as in the entire generation, but a majority of the people that I've interacted with, we all have too many regrets about doing this, about doing that, maybe sometimes missing an opportunity or giving too much to something that was not needed. Do you think regrets are a part of life, or is there a way to just avoid it?
Regrets are the Christian concept.
Okay.
There is a way to control the other. You make them feel guilty.
I've been on the receiving end of it.
So you understand.
Yeah.
So, and this is, I had learned from Bhagwan clearly that he does not teach guilt.
Okay.
What you do, take responsibility. Don't pass the buck.
Okay.
And when you take responsibility, there is no need for regrets. Because through responsibility you will learn.
Fair enough. I agree. Now coming back to the mention that you made of guilt, right? Lord Rajneesh taught you to not apply guilt on other people, not to use it. But I remember watching some of the interviews, just some footages that I have from back in the day. When you left, he did speak negatively about you, right? He didn't just let you go. So isn't it contradicting to what he preached?
Well, we have to ask him.
Someday.
Someday, right. See, I don't focus on that.
Okay.
I wasn't there. I have not heard. And it is his prerogative. It is also people have to understand he was so dependent on me. And suddenly Sheila is no longer in life. One feels it quickly.
I remember one clip of his that I watched just before we began the interview, where he said, if she had done nothing wrong, why would she run away? And then he says she went without saying goodbye.
Right.
Like after all of it, his biggest concern was that you didn't say goodbye.
But that is not true.
You did?
Of course I did.
Oh.
And I said it in writing goodbye.
Okay.
And I have put those letters in my autobiography, copy of those letters. Don't kill him.
Where can people find it?
Amazon.
Amazon?
Yeah, and it is India's bestseller.
Absolutely. So now I know what I'm reading tomorrow.
And it is also translated in Hindi. So you have it in German, English, and Hindi.
Great. Oh my God. You're all over the place. You're doing business better than we do it.
No, it's not business for me. But it is what I went through. And my father said, Sheila, you cannot sit silent.
Okay.
You must speak. Through you, young people will be inspired. Your life's experience is so big that young people will be inspired. And that's when, in 1996, I wrote my first autobiography in German.
Okay.
Then translated in English in 2013 or 10, something like that. And after that, few years later, translated in Hindi. And I have also second version of my autobiography by my own rules, which just came out 2 years back.
Tell me more about this one. I love the title.
Yeah, you have to read it.
I'll do that. We're reading it, guys. Amazon. We get it on Amazon.
Right. By my own rules.
Absolutely. Just the way you lived life.
Right.
And again, I know I'm going back to again the same situation, and you've spoken about it multiple times, but it's just too fascinating. So I would just go ahead and ask. Right now, there's this conversation of equality between men and women, right? And in this debate, I feel there are fair points. There are places where women should get equal opportunity. So I want to know, when you were living with Bhagwan, was there any capacity of conversation of equality, or was it just equal for everyone?
Bhagwan said he prefers women bosses because they function through the heart. And many people have criticized Bhagwan that why does he have women around him? And we were first community where women were truck drivers, women were big machine drivers and doing hard machine work, etc. I was Bhagwan's spokesperson, and many men complain on a daily basis that Sheila is not doing good job, she's turning people against him, etc., etc. And when complaint is there, I bring that first to Bhagwan. And Bhagwan said, just throw them out. Throw the
Yeah.
letter out like that. But Bhagwan also draws attention that men and women,
Hmm.
they shouldn't be in competition.
Fair enough.
They are one.
Hmm.
Yin and yang live together,
Yeah.
equal basis. So, when a man has tears in his eyes, that is his female coming out.
Okay.
And when a woman lifts up the car to save her child, that is the man in her coming out with this physical strength that she doesn't have it,
Mm-hmm.
but in emergency comes out.
Okay.
These are very visible examples to see the equality. And yet Bhagwan said that the woman's potential of childbirth, there man has to think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that talent man doesn't have it yet, physical talent.
I don't think we are going to have it ever.
Who knows?
I can accept I am not strong enough to go through it.
But these are different aspects. If one is aware of it, one will not compete
Absolutely.
and complement one another and go hand in hand together through the life.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And again, when we talk about, so in my understanding, it was a community that followed a religion, but later it was said that there's no religion, we're just all living together.
It's a beautiful story and a beautiful mockery of word religion.
Okay.
We were applying for Bhagwan's green card.
Yeah.
So he can continue to stay and do his work that was undertaken, of his dream of having a living community.
Yeah.
In freedom and with higher values of life. This, we had filed it under men of exception ability for the green card, the application, and we had backup application as a religious leader.
Okay.
So, the Republican Immigration Department of Oregon did not want to accept Bhagwan's exceptional ability nor the religious leader status. So they asked us to define our religion according to their assessment of what a religion is.
Okay.
So, for them, religion has to have a priest, church,
Absolutely.
Bible, religious holidays, and what other paraphernalia that goes with it. I was out of my wits. Then I come from the immigration office, speak to Bhagwan. What do we do? You speak against religion, all religions you speak against, and now they want us to create a religion.
Yeah.
So Bhagwan said, Sheela, no worry, we create religion. You listen. And he dictated me 60 pages
60 pages?
of Rajneesh Bible,
God.
book of Rajneeshism.
And
he, all the categories fulfilled with this small booklet, so thin, A5 cut, of a book. And then I was sent by him. He himself designed my robes, what I have to, as a religious leader, have to wear, and sent around Europe to go to different communities of ours and proclaim our religion, establish that. Important was the green card, and for that, if we have to create religion, we create it.
Oh my God.
People plant stones.
Yeah.
Why not Bhagwan create a book of Rajneeshism?
That's like a master stroke.
It was a master stroke.
And did people actually start believing and following the religion?
No, we all carried our book.
Okay.
We all had our book.
Now, see, when you speak about him, I can already see it in your eyes. You have a lot of love and respect. And that just seems to be also because of the man that he was. So that seems interesting. Because I've always heard a third person talk about him, right? There's only limited information that I get. But you have very strong points.
I know how the organization functioned. I had learned it from the Meister himself.
And was he just a thought leader, or was he like, did he have any supernatural abilities also, or was he just a thought leader?
What more supernatural powers you're looking for, young man? The man can call half a world without advertisement around him. What more superpower you need? Supernatural.
And again, so just a counter to it, I understand that he was extremely smart, and he understood a lot of things. And then at the later stages of being in the US, when you decided to leave, you have mentioned that he had bad influences around him, right? People like people.
He had a wrong people around him.
Yeah. How did he not realize it?
Maybe he realized it, and he was already so gone in drug scene that he probably said, hell with it. What happens to most people who are into drugs? And for me, in spite of that, what knowledge he has left for us erases all his problems.
Fair enough. He did have a huge impact almost everyone's life that he's interacted with. And do you know where he came from? Like, as in who he was before?
You mean in his past life or the
No. In this life. So I'm sure he was not born a spiritual leader.
He wasn't born in famous families or something like that, or the rich family. He was born middle class
Hmm.
family,
Hmm.
and he had but he had a certain curiosity which stood out
Hmm.
even as a child, even as a young man, as a university man, as a professor. Wherever he went, he created,
So he had an impact.
he had impact all throughout his life.
Hmm.
And ability to touch whoever came near him. They cannot ignore him.
And
Either
that's
you
true.
love him or you hate him,
Hmm.
but you cannot ignore him.
I remember watching the documentary Wild Wild Country on Netflix, and the residents of the place where all of you went, they mentioned that they had the fear of the unknown.
Fear of?
Fear of unknown. Like what they didn't understand, they just feared it. So, did you guys not try to speak to them and make
We
them
were
understand?
19 miles, 20 miles away from the village. What are they talking with curvy roads, dirt road? We don't even see them, you know.
So why did they have a problem?
This is the mentality. This is this mentality of the old generation, rednecks, conservative, Christian, Bible thumping area.
I see a little bit of the old you right now.
Yeah. And I had given, I think 6 weeks or 2 months after we moved there, we bought the land.
Yeah.
To introduce myself, I had given party for 200 residents from around the region.
Oh.
And with live music, dancing, real party, real dancing, and we danced and half the night.
So all of them came?
All of them, 200 people came. And from 100 miles away they came.
Then how did they change?
That is the situation was like this. This little village, it is ghost town. There were maybe 5 families living there. And they had a mayor.
Okay.
She was a woman, Margaret Hill, her name was. This woman had a son in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Working for Los Angeles Times.
So the newspaper, the media.
So what happens is this woman, she's retired, old woman, sees these young people with beard and she's talking to her son. And she says these people are all dressed in red and they are dancing and laughing and he put 2 and together.
Okay.
he said, aha, this must be Rajneesh's.
Hmm.
And he comes out with spread on Los Angeles
Okay.
Times.
So that is how.
And that's how it, then what he writes negative, the other media has picked up, and suddenly we became the platform for Republicans because it was also election year.
Oh, that plays a very important role, at least in the US and also in India at times. So, if let's say if things would have not turned out this way, and if things would have went well, what would have it been today?
I don't know. And I want to say one thing. Whatever it was, the seed is planted.
So there's going to be something that we see.
And maybe it will not flower today, 200 years from today, or 300 years from today, like Christianity flowered after 300 years. Who knows? But it was a fully successful experiment. When I left Rajneeshpuram, it was well-functioning city for 10,000 people. 7,000 living permanently.
Oh my God. And all of that in a span of 4-5 years.
That's right.
Oh God. That does seem to be a success.
Right.
I cannot imagine. Just in a span of 4-5 years.
People don't know the magnitude of Bhagwan's work. I have seen it with my own eyes, and I have taken part in it, and proud to take part in it.
Again, I would assume, did you come from like a well-connected, wealthy family?
No, I come also from middle class. My father was a farmer and self-educated man.
Okay.
He did have, during the Satyagraha, he was one of the trusted person of Gandhi.
Achha.
And he worked with Kaka Sahib Kalelkar, Mama Fatke, Vinobaji. Also, he worked with so different people, and he also was in prison for years.
I don't want to say it, but was it a family tradition?
Freedom. He fought for land freedom.
Yeah.
And I for religious and
spiritual
human freedom.
Human freedom. That seems fair. So I was asking you about how it began for you, because as even I come from a middle class family. As people who come from middle class family, we have by the time we are 15, 18, we have a mindset of what we want to do in life. We would get a job, we would have a stable life. And from that, you went to this revolution and you led it. Was it in the plan at any point? This is what I want to do?
No, never planned. I was a fine arts student. And the reason I was a fine arts student, because I didn't like studying.
That we have in common.
Yeah, but painting or working with clay or the sculptor, yeah, I was ready for it. And I did it.
And then you met Bhagwan.
And then I went back home to visit parents and came Bombay where Bhagwan was residing in Pedder Road.
Hmm. And then once you met him,
Then I remained.
so your parents were living with you or they left and
No, they went back to Baroda,
okay. And you stayed.
and I remained in Pune with Bhagwan.
Okay.
And in between, I would go to America and come back to do some things for the ashram.
So thank you so much. Firstly, Anand Sheela ji, you've given me a lot of your time. Secondly, before I wrap it up, I have a very fun story that I think everyone who's watching this should know. One, to all of us, you're larger than life. Okay? That is how we look at you. So, to get in touch with you, one was incredibly, in my mind at least, out of our reach. So, my team reached out to you on Instagram and they told me, okay, we've reached out to Anand Sheela ji and she's responded. Now we would connect you and then we can see if she would come on the show. And my first instinct was, she's not going to respond to you on Instagram. That's not happening. So let's just relax. Okay, this is a catfish. This is not happening. Then you actually gave your number and we got connected. The baby, I was like, okay, someone is playing around. That's not happening. Then we got on a video call and I actually saw you. And for a moment while we were speaking, I froze. I was there like, okay, I'm actually speaking to you. And then I can just say that she's been extremely kind through and throughout the days. And today also, again, she gave me too much of her time. And for that, I just want to say thank you so much. And before I let you go, just one thing. If people want to connect to you, where can they do that?
They need not ask me, is that you really? Yes, everything on Instagram that you see written, answered, it is from me. I do it myself. And sometimes I get annoyed a bit because people ask, hi, hello, good morning, and nothing more. Or they say, what is your daily routine? My daily routine is work. I am a person who works and likes to work. So please don't hesitate if you have to get in touch with me. Do send me a message and I will respond to you. It may be short, few words or sentences, but don't expect me to write yet another book.
On that note, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being here. And I'll see you all in the next episode.